My brother's friend. Hi. I'm Valentine, and I'm going to tell you about a pretty creepy experience that happened to me. I'm 21 now, turning 22 soon, and every time I think about this story, I get a shiver down my spine. At the time of the events, I was in high school. I don't remember exactly, but I was probably 16 or 17, in sophomore or junior year. Every morning, I take the bus to get to school. I have a journey of about 10 minutes to the nearest stop from my home, but since the bus is often full by the time it reaches that stop, I usually walk an extra 5 minutes to the one before to have a better chance of getting a seat. On this particular morning, it's Monday, and when I leave my house, it's still dark, it's winter, so that's normal. I'm a fairly anxious person, and since I pass through a somewhat isolated area with few pedestrians on my way, I only put on my music once I reach the bus stop to stay vigilant about my surroundings. That day, I get to the bus stop without any issues. I'm about to start my music when I hear a "Hi" coming from my left. I take off my headphones and look at the person who just called me. It's a friend of my older brother, all good, we were together in middle school. He tells me that in a recent conversation with my brother, important detail, he found out that we take the same bus and he thought it was funny. At the time, I don't pay much attention, but looking back, that statement should have caught my attention because I had never seen him at that stop before. We start chatting, the bus arrives, I get on, but he doesn't. It puzzles me, but I don't question it further and prefer to rush to get the last available seat. The next morning, I bump into this boy again, still at the bus stop, and we talk once more. Once again, the bus arrives, I board, but he doesn't. This goes on for a few days until Friday when, this time, I encounter this same boy not at the usual bus stop but at the one closest to my home, the one I usually ignore on my route. I pretend not to see him and continue walking. He calls out to me. He catches up, and we walk to the bus stop together. During the journey, he asks me strange questions like,
"Do you often make this journey alone? What time do you leave your house? And in the evening, what time do you come back? Which bus do you take? Are your parents at home when you return?"
I quickly realize that these are not casual questions and avoid answering them. He finally says,
"It's strange that you go to this bus stop when the other one is closer to your home. You do live there, right?"
mentioning my address. At that moment, I have a bad feeling. Firstly, because if you add all the questions he just asked me to the mix, it's getting really weird, and especially because he has never been to my place. He's a guy my brother got along with, but nothing more. As a result, he has never been to my house and has no other way of knowing my address. I don't respond, but he continues,
"You walk pretty fast, leaving your house at 7:30, you get to the bus stop quite quickly."
I freeze. I hadn't answered his earlier question, so I hadn't told him what time I leave my house. This conversation feels like an eternity until the bus finally arrives. I get on, feel relieved, but I hear this boy say,
"See you tonight,"
while waving and smiling. I start to panic, my stomach hurts, and I can't think straight. I grab my phone and send a message to my older brother. I ask him to tell his friend to leave me alone, that he's making me uncomfortable. My brother calls me within a minute and says,
"I haven't talked to this guy since at least middle school. What did he say to you?"
And then, I understand. I understand that he hasn't had any contact with this guy for a long time, and he lied to start talking to me. On the verge of tears, I tell my brother everything, all the strange questions he asked me and all the information he has about me, without me being able to explain how he got them. My brother tells me he'll handle it, and I don't have to worry anymore. In the evening, I get off the bus, and surprise, no one is there. I hurry home, often looking behind me to make sure I'm not being followed. When I get to my doorstep, I rush inside, lock the door. My brother won't be home for another hour, which feels like an eternity. He comes to see me and just says,
"Don't worry about that boy anymore, I took care of it. He won't bother you again."
I never knew exactly what my brother said or did to that boy, but I never saw him again, and that's all that matters. So there you have it. There are still many unanswered questions in this story that will probably never be clarified, like how he got my address or the time I leave my house. I think he followed me at some point, but I prefer not to think about it. Since that day, I walk even faster when I'm alone, and after this incident, I try to get dropped off at my bus stop by car as often as possible.